This is Swim, Success with Music. Hey, what's going on, music fam? This is Walt. This is Success with Music. I am your music coach, your boom shakalaka, I'm still packing, trying to get out of my house and move to another house in the next week. So man, I got boxes everywhere. What's going on, music family? I appreciate you tuning in for the show as always. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving holiday for those of you who are in the U.S. And for just about everyone around the world here, we got Christmas coming up. Just had Black Friday here. Crazy shopping day. I went out just for a moment and it was kind of crazy, but that's commerce for you. But man, I'm looking forward to the holidays. Real quick note as it relates to that. I am going to be out of the country here in the next few weeks. So what I'm going to do is try to record remotely. I have a couple of things I want to share with you guys in the coming weeks. So I'm hoping that my mobile editing magic will hold up overseas. And who knows what kind of internet connection I will have in the various places around the world I'll be. But I'll give it a shot. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Check me out. Check out some older episodes if you would. And man, we'll keep this music life going. And because I'm knee deep in boxes here at my house, that's where I'm recording today. I want to go ahead and just jump right into our main topic for today.
So build me a time machine.
All right, so here's the main topic. I want to talk about my personal time machine. And what I mean by that is I want to take you back to some things that I wish I would have done differently as a musician. And the reason why I'm bringing these up is not to make you feel bad about my regrets, but I want to go back and show you some things that I personally would have done differently with respect to my music career. And I'm hoping that wherever you are in your career, that you can avoid some of the potholes that I just completely ran into over time. I think I've had an okay music career. It could have been a bit better, still working on making some things happen. But again, hindsight is usually 2020. Looking back in the past, you kind of say, hey, I wish I did this or did this. So if you happen to be moving along in your music career, I hope you take some of the things I'm going to mention today to heart, because you can actually leapfrog over some obstacles that some of us have had to go through the hard way. But the good part is I learned quite a bit, and that's really the whole point of the podcast, is to share some of the things that I have learned. So having said that, I want to get into 4 major lessons that I'm bringing back from my time machine. All right, so here's the first one, and this is something that I want to advise for you. Avoid stopping and starting when it comes to your music career, and that can mean a lot of things. Stopping and starting in terms of practice, stopping and starting in terms of your passion for music, stopping and starting with your dreams. Let's say you have a dream to be a certain thing, or have to, so many songs out there or what have you. One of the biggest things that I feel that really hurt me in my music career overall, as a sum or as a whole, is stopping and starting. You get a great idea, you get a great track, you have a concept that you want to run with. Maybe you want to set up your indie label, or maybe you want to produce an artist, or you say that you want to go tour, or you're going to learn a different instrument, or you're going to start practicing, or it can be a number of things. And when you stop and start, you lose momentum. And when you lose momentum, it kind of really kills the progression of whatever music aspiration that you have. Think about your car, if you have one, or if you've been in a car. If you stop and go, if you're familiar with this, the physics of it, you actually burn more fuel when you stop and start, because, and I don't want to get too sciencey on you here, but when an object is at rest, it's called inertia. And you actually have to use a lot of energy to overcome inertia. So if you see a big boulder, in this case, we're talking about a car, in order to move that thing, it takes quite a bit of energy. But a car or a boulder, if you get it rolling downhill, you're in okay shape. But if something comes along and stops that thing, that also takes energy. And then you start again and then you stop. It's just a huge waste of energy. And what happens is that you get discouraged. And that's the thing that I wanted to mention about that is when you stop and start, you get discouraged. So my advice to you, and the thing that I believe that will be very helpful for you, is to learn to keep going regardless. Even if you're taking baby steps, just keep going. And one more caveat for this, maybe you shouldn't start with these massive, huge, large goals that you're going to sell, I don't know, 1 billion downloads this year or have 1 billion streams. Maybe just start with saying, hey, you know what? I'm just working my way to getting a few hundred streams in the next few months. If you can go with these smaller goals, it's easier to keep those smaller goals going. But if you say that, yeah, man, I'm going to go hit LA, New York, New Orleans, I'm going to tour the whole country in the next month. That's my goal. When that doesn't happen, it's easy to get discouraged and you say, you know what? I'm not going to do this. And then you'll see someone on TV, you'll hear a story on the internet, and you're like, you know what? I can do it. And then you're back at it again. Just, again, try to be consistent as much as possible. All right. So that's lesson number 1. Here's lesson number 2 from my personal time machine. One thing that I believe that has hindered me overall in my career is plateauing on skills. Now, what I mean by that is whether you're a vocalist or a beat maker or an instrumentalist or a lyricist, sometimes you just get used to what you can do. So if you have so many, let's say you're a vocalist, you have certain runs that you do vocally, or there's certain keys that you sing in, or you have a certain range that you work with, you just use that same key, same run, the same runs, or the same range over and over and over again. And that's fine. You'll become very, very proficient in that particular area. But if you don't push yourself beyond that plateau, you'll get stale. And the danger in that is, as the world is progressing, and if you think about it, music is incredibly competitive. If you haven't noticed, you will have someone that may be similar to you in terms of age and, style, but all of a sudden you will hear someone do something very innovative that is in your little circle, if you will, or somewhere, or in a place where you see someone as a competitor, and then you hear people saying, wow, that person is brilliant. Well, it's because they're pushing just beyond the norm. They're pushing, in this instance, beyond where you are as a musician. And what happens in that instance, you become dated. You become old school. You become just the norm. So when you plateau in your skills, you really run the risk of outdating yourself and becoming obsolete very, very fast. I'm not a vocalist. I mainly compose. I do some playing on the keyboard and things like that. There have been some recent instances where I've been out playing, doing a show with some of my other musician friends, and I'll come across another keyboardist. And some of the licks that I'm hearing and some of the chords and in the structure for composition, I'm completely blown away. And I'm like, how in the world can this guy or gal play like this? Or how did they think of this idea? Well, the thing is, they're growing in their career. They're pushing, they're learning, they're listening, they're experimenting. So again, my recommendation for you as a musician, don't get stale. Don't get complacent. If you can do a super sweet solo on your guitar in a certain key, try to play that same solo in a different key. If you know a certain scale, try to learn new scales. But if you can play that same sweet scale over and over again, yeah, you will shine with that one thing, but you'll be isolated to that one area. Don't plateau in your skills. All right. So that's one of the things that I wish that over time I had paid more attention to. Now, yeah, currently I try to push myself and do a bit more, but I'm talking about over the course of my career. I think for many, many years, I just did the same thing. I composed music in the same way. I opened up my digital audio workstation. I'll go to the same sounds. I'll choose the same keys. I'll choose the same tempos. Push yourself beyond that point so you can actually grow. And again, do this consistently over the course of your career. All right, let's move on to my third thought and the third nugget I'm bringing back from my time machine. This one is pretty simple. And again, I'm talking about me here. Here are lessons. These are lessons about what I've done that may be helpful for you. I'm pretty sure they will be. Here's the next one. Don't be an arrogant idiot. In the music world, it's really easy to fall into the trap of thinking that you are the hottest thing in the world and no one can touch you and this and that and the other. I understand it kind of goes with the territory. Many musicians have an ego. Many musicians, think they're just the most creative thing in the world and that they are the bastion of creativity. I get that, but I'm cautioning you. And this is a hard lesson that I had to learn, that you cannot be an arrogant idiot, someone who cannot be told anything, someone who does not take advice or take criticism or open to you can't be someone that's not open to ideas. You have to be receptive. This is kind of a side note here, and I'm going to give you the main example here in just a second, but when it comes to my music, my wife would hear some tracks that I'm making, or I'll show her some things I've been doing. And I'm like, oh yeah, man, I love this song. And her thing to me was, Walt, you've never played a song for me and had negative things to say. You always think your tracks are the hottest thing in the world. I'm like, yeah, yeah, they are. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being confident in what you do, but her point was, if, Walt, you think that there is no room for improvement, there's a problem. If you can't see that something can be made better, or if you can't take input about, I don't know, a chord structure or a melody or some lyrics, you have a major blind spot, and that blind spot may cause you to not be as sweet as you think you actually are. So here's the big example that I want to bring back from my past here. Many years ago, I was back home in Cleveland. That's where I grew up, by the way. And we were, I was working with an artist, a local artist, me and my friend and a few others. We were working on her career. We were creating songs. We were recording a lot. We were going out and touring around the city. The long story short is that she gained a lot of traction. I mean, we were doing really well. People were like, hey, I'm ready to buy your material. We were actually opening up for major, nationally known acts, that were coming into Cleveland. And this one time, there was this act that was coming into Cleveland, two different acts, national acts. And we got to open up. And then after the show, we were invited in the back and we talked to the musicians and everything else. And they were like, hey, man, the music was just fire, man. You guys are just sweet. And we were like, yeah, we know. And we're just being arrogant. We're just like, yeah, we know we're sweet. So anyhow, one of the main guys from this national act was like, hey, listen, let's connect, man. Here's my phone number. Here's my information. Let's get together, man. I would love to just, talk a bit more. And at that time, in retrospect, I feel like this is just the stupidest thing ever, referring to myself in the past. I didn't call this musician. I'm like, my thinking was, dude, we're doing okay right now. In fact, we're doing better than okay, man. We are about to go to that next level. So I took his number, and I never said that to him. I just kind of kept his card like, okay, yeah, thanks. But I never did anything with it. Anyhow, fast forward many years later, this guy, he since have gone on to have many awards, been at the Grammys. I think he may have won one, if I'm not mistaken. He's done music all over, has done collabs with tons of people. Mind you, I haven't done the Grammy thing. I haven't been all over where he's been. He's on the radio. He actually was on a reality TV show. I mean, he was everywhere. I mean, the dude blew up in a major way. He was up in Detroit. He then moved out to LA. The point being was, I had an opportunity to connect with him, to forge a relationship, but because I thought I was that sweet, I paid him no attention. And it was stupid. Years later, his career took off. The people that he connected with in the industry,